the next part of our session here is one of the most fun ones, which is to try to honor innovation. We get to have a lot of people up on stage, but once each meeting we give an award for ophthalmology innovation. And you see some of the past award recipients, all who have made major contributions in different ways to ophthalmic innovation. And we're very proud to announce that this year's Innovator Award will go to Mark Forchette of OptiMedica, CEO and President of OptiMedica. Now you are probably familiar with OptiMedica, but I'll give you a few slides here just in summary if we could advance. As we all know, the tremendous excitement in femtosecond cataract surgery has really been pioneered by a new approach of using femtosecond pulses to replace phacoemulsification, essentially. And OptiMedica is one of the leaders in the field, which has many players, but OptiMedica has particular proprietary technology. I won't go through all of this, but a lot of what they've done with interfaces and algorithms is really defines innovation itself and is helping to develop a brand new market, which is, of course, what's really important in innovation. As Bill mentioned, innovation is never easy and often not fast, and OptiMedica is a good case study in a big project that had some very dedicated founders and a team, but needed a lot of capital, over $90 million to get all around that innovation cycle and surpass all of the failure points as we saw to get through to be a commercially successful company, now part of Abbott Medical Optics, and obviously making a major impact on the marketplace. So we'll get a chance to talk to Mark in a minute, but I wanted you to join me in this great honor for Mark. And Mark, why don't you come up? Great. Phone here and do a quick little interview with Mark.
Thank you.
So maybe we could start with being a true entrepreneur and innovator, going way back to early days. There's usually some thread of a story, family provenance, or some early experience you had that might be, were you thinking of policeman, fireman, femtosecond CEO? What things were you thinking about when you were younger, and what influenced you?
Not femtosecond CEO, but I did have a really pivotal experience, I think, at a young age. When I was in my late teens, I think I was like 17, 18 years old. And kind of one of the coolest jobs I had was I was a desk clerk at a Howard Johnson's on the interstate in central Georgia. And it was one night in the summer, I was 17, 18 years old. One night in the summer, this gentleman pulls up, and he was in a Mercedes convertible, and he was really nicely dressed, and he got out of his car and he walked in. And of course I said, how can I help you? Can you fill this out to check in? And he signed his name, and he wrote Ray Kroc. And I put my hand on the card and I said, not the Ray Kroc that founded McDonald's. And he said, well, yeah, that's me. And so I, of course, what are you doing at Howard Johnson's in Perry, Georgia? I proceeded to pepper him with questions that night. And so he said, I'll tell you what, I'll put my stuff in my bedroom, and I'll come back and we'll sit down and talk. And he did. He came back and he sat down and talked to me, and I remember it being like an hour and a half or so in the lobby. And so at the end of that, I remember him walking out of the room and saying, that's what I want to do. I want to be a CEO. I loved his stories and kind of all the different things he told me. And that was really an inspiration, and it made a big difference for me later in my career, because when I was at Alcon and I was challenged with an opportunity to go to OptiMedica, I really looked back on that as a pivotal experience and said, I set that goal a long time ago, And if I don't take that challenge, then when I'm 80 years old, I'll say I didn't have the courage to do it, and so I had to do it.
That's great. So does that explain? I remember when I visited OptiMedica, it said over 8 billion pulses delivered up front. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about then you got into ophthalmology. Maybe talk about your experience there and how you transitioned from Grieshauber into Alcon a little bit.
Yeah. So right now this year's my 30th anniversary in ophthalmology. So. I started as a sales rep with Grieshauber, Swiss surgical instrument company. I started in 1984, carrying a demo bag, and there were only a few of us in the entire country, and I covered from Miami to Washington D.C., Tennessee, Mississippi, everything in between, and we just built quite a great reputation. The company grew tremendously. I wound up in charge of the U.S. organization and moved it from Pennsylvania to Georgia. We started up what was starting production there, and enough so that Alcon took an interest in us. And in 1998, they acquired the company, and I went to Alcon, and I don't know, I thought I might last a couple of years there because I had a little bit of an entrepreneurial streak. And in fact, I wound up staying there 9 years and had a tremendous career with the Retina Group there. And it's a great company, great culture. I thought I'd finish my career at Alcon. But Mark Blumenkranz approached me and said that OptiMedica was looking for a CEO. He thought it'd make sense for me to do that. And I just kind of politely listened. I thought, well, okay, I'll think about this, to be nice. But he then put me on the phone with Brooke Byers. So Brooke Byers was the chairman of the board, Kleiner Perkins Caulfield Byers. And I remember it was like a Saturday morning, and Brooke was going to talk to me at like 9:52 or something for 8 minutes or something like that. And the phone call turned into about 2 hours because we were talking. He's from Waycross, Georgia. We talked about everything from Waffle House to the Allman Brothers to ophthalmology, and that really inspired me to come out here. So,
well, maybe going back a little bit. So you were at Alcon, at a big, stable company, maybe the best in the world. What was going through your mind as you were thinking about a transition, and had you thought about any other smaller companies, or what was that decision point like for you?
So. Naturally, it's kind of daunting to think about stepping away from such a significant organization. I mean, 25,000 employees, the incredible resources that you have of that, and then taking on something that's quite different. I think what helped in that is, well, really two things. I think it helped that I had the Grieshauber experience, because when I started at Grieshauber, we would, sell things in the morning, print the purchase orders by noon, walk in the warehouse, box them up, and FedEx them out. I mean, it was a very vertical organization. And then at Alcon, it was a completely different thing with all the resource. So I had enough of a humbling balance that allowed me to do that. And I do remember the first day that I walked into OptiMedica, and I looked around, and their plants in the corner, and thinking, nobody's going to water my plants here. So, you're going to have to do a lot of stuff yourself.
And maybe talk when you your first impressions of OptiMedica. Maybe talk a little bit about what they were doing then, and then what besides, obviously you had a great conversation with the venture capitalists that we'll talk about. But what about the company? What did you see there, and what things were pluses and minuses when you first saw it?
So when I walked in, so of course you make judgments on things that you see from the outside, and so I saw the incredible backing, very talented, sophisticated investors, a very talented, sophisticated board, and I knew a couple of people. So Mark Blumenkranz, of course, founder, visionary person. Mark introduced the company to me. And so that made a huge impact, his confidence in it. And then I also knew George Marcelino, and I had the greatest respect for George. And so I saw quality in everything that I looked at. I knew they were in retina, glaucoma, cataract. I saw the Pascal, so the founders and the original team did the kind of $0 to $1 million deadlift to get the product out. But when I got in the company, the thing that really struck me was there's a very deep level of expertise in what we did, you know, in laser tissue interaction, in technology associated with laser, and a great passion in the people. And that's, you know, I think success in business boils down to two things. You know, you got to have technology that resonates, that really delivers something, and you've got to have passionate people that are committed to it. And I saw both of those things. That made the big difference.
Now, what I remember about OptiMedica was it was a bit unusual as a startup company that they had multiple products, and they were looking at things in the back of the eye and the front of the eye. And actually, their first product, if I remember, was Pascal, which was really retina only. And then the femtocataract came later. And maybe talk a little bit, we've talked about pivots and things in companies. Talk a little bit about managing that and how you looked at that when you were looking at joining the company of the multiple products.
So you're exactly right. We launched Pascal first, and when I came in, we'd sold like, I don't know, 18, 20 systems. So it was in the very early stage of the launch. The cataract technology was a very stealthy project going on in the background, and but it was, you know, it was behind closed doors, completely stealth and quiet. And you know, we scaled and launched. We took the retina business at the time of the transaction at Topcon. We had sold 700 systems and treated 1 million patients. So we really scaled that, but that made a lot of demands on the organization, and it was taking a lot of time. And we saw the huge opportunity in the cataract segment. And a unique thing happened, and it actually happened at this meeting. So I think the first innovation summit, I presented about Pascal and stood up and I described the sales and the numbers. And one of our partners, the distribution partners, Topcon, was kind of stunned at what we had done globally, and then accelerated their interest in this. And so we made the decision to transact the retina business. And we transacted it to the credit of all the investors. It was treated as a non-dilutive financing. All that cash stayed in the company to execute on the cataract side. And it was, you know, in retrospect, you look back on it, it was an incredible thing to do. It was a little audacious to take your revenue-generating business that you're succeeding in, transact it away, go back to being a startup, cleave the company in half, and do that. And I think one of the hardest decisions, or one of the hardest discussions that I had to have was to go to Mark Kliman and say, Mark, you know, we're looking at this, and it's a wise decision, I think, for us to transact this, because you know, that product was a glisten in his eye. That was his baby. But you know, like any, you know, very mature, sophisticated, I think, entrepreneur, he saw the value of doing that. And said, okay, let's do it.
That's great. And then in terms of the resources that you had, so did you have this, did the same technical team that developed the retina product do the femto product, or did you have to look at different team resourcing in that?
There were some outstanding technical talents that developed the retinal product that stayed through and right through development of the cataract product. But then, of course, once we cleaved the company in two, and all the manufacturing capability, all that expertise went with Pascal. And it turns out we needed something different for cataract, so that made sense. And then, of course, once we did that, then we scaled and brought on all the talent that we needed to support the original team, and added, you know, tremendously. But we, you know, the management team, you know, Robert Haddad with operations, Alan Marquardt with the regulatory, and then we brought in Dave Scott to lead that team, and then we had Greg Anderson, Rob Eno, George Marcelin. So that team all stayed the same, and I think that's a really unique team, a really high-performing team that didn't always agree but worked really well together. So.
Now, you were venture-backed and had a number of investors behind you and board and so on, and maybe talk a little about the experience with your board and with investors, positive, negative, neutral.
Yeah, I look at this is my first time being a CEO, and I look at this and I think that my experience was just extraordinary. So beginning with Brooke, and even from that first conversation that we had, I knew that we were kind of kindred spirits in a way. I mean, we just think of things very similarly. He was an incredible resource, and then the rest of the board. I think one of the most critical things as a company goes through the roller coaster ride, is a great book out. There's a lot of CEOs in this room, executives, by Ben Horowitz. It's called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. It captures being a CEO, and I think what you face. And I think one of the critical things is that as you go through that roller coaster ride, you got to have a great supportive team that understands the ride. There's ups and downs, and they happen probably 3, 4, 5 times in the same day. And our board got that, and they. I think that their approach was more like being a great academy of management, higher learning than anything else. I mean, it's just greatly supportive, and they know their stuff, but greatly supportive.
That's great. Now, Bill Link is known for talking about companies having near-death experiences. So did you have any near-death experiences, and any lessons learned in that?
So I wouldn't call this a near-death experience, but I would say that we certainly had experiences that tested, do you really live your values? So we were all about doing, delivering breakthrough innovations that improve patient outcomes. And you think of, there's kind of an iron triangle of project management, time, resource, scope. And so you're pushing a project really hard to make sure that you hit your targets. And we were in our clinical trial, and we saw some things in the capsulotomy that we didn't like. We saw some skips in the cutting that our team, patients first, making sure the technology was incredible. We said that's not good enough, and I think that we did an incredible thing that ultimately resulted in one of our most novel innovations was the liquid optics, and I think it's a perfect example of how maybe venture-backed companies do things right. So there's a kind of a phrase that's real well known within our company: a well-defined problem is nearly solved. So we really analyzed deeply what was creating the skips, and saw the approach that we were taking with the interface could be better. And so we stopped and we said, we've got to find a solution to this. And I remember going into a board meeting. This is why I say they were such an incredible board. Going into a board meeting and showing this, describing this, and saying, we can do better, and we're going to, and so we've stopped. We're going to invent a solution. They said, okay, what's it going to be, and how long is it going to take, and how much is it going to cost? The answer was, I don't know, but we'll find a solution. And they said, well, you're doing the right thing for patients, so do it. Do it fast, do it efficiently, but do it. And we did. We brought together all of our scientists and all of our physicians that were so incredibly involved, and we developed together liquid optics, and it wound up being a key differentiator for us. And I think that was a really incredible thing.
Yeah, no, watching the industry evolve, my next question was going to be about competition, because with Intralase, the first femtosecond laser company, its problem was it was the only company, there was no competition, no one believed in it. Whereas it was more of a horse race between some venture-backed companies and then big companies for femtocataract. And it seemed like you really had a differentiating part of the technology. But talk a little bit about how you saw the competitive landscape, and then what that sort of felt like in the marketplace.
Well, I think, so number one, I think competition is good. Not good, I think competition is great, because it challenges each of the companies to be better. I think our values would have driven us to do something like liquid optics. I think that we were wired that way, but you know, you stop and you look around the competitive landscape, and we knew that, you know, we're going to be late now. You know, it's going to take a longer time, but you know, do you believe what you say? You really do what you say you believe, and in trying to be the best technology. And I think you know, competition drives you to do the right thing. If you're not going to be first, you better sure be best. I'm having to watch my language. I guess I usually
we've got an audio delay to the audience. That's okay. You know, probably every venture-backed company's dream is that an acquirer would appear and buy you. And in your case, did an acquirer just kind of sneak up on you, or was it very long conversations? And Martha, you may be out in the audience there someplace, but what was that process like? And can you talk a little bit? Was it something that just kind of came up behind you, or was it right there in front of you?
Right. You know, naturally, when you have I'll be careful here. So, but naturally, you know, when you have a unique technology that's right on the forefront of things, it's natural that you have conversations along the way. So there were conversations for long periods of time with multiple potential.
Multiple. So you weren't just talking to Murthy.
Well, there's
because he told me you were just talking to him and no one else. But yeah. Well, maybe he can tell us because he's been right here listening to this.
You were so quiet, sneaking up like that.
Yeah, you never know when a strategic's going to sneak up on you.
Well, we wanted to broaden the conversation here a little bit because it really is. This was really a unique marriage.
Can I say something here? So he's already bought the company. So this is for real.
Now you can say what really happened.
I have to say that that Murthy and the way his approach to this was incredibly refreshing. You know, the employees that at OptiMedica, naturally you go, uh-oh, we're going to be bought by a big company. Maybe we should head for the hills. Murthy and the team were so sensitive to make sure that this was done appropriately and right, and to make sure that we kept talent. And I thank you for that. It was wonderful.
Great. Well, it would be great to get a little perspective from the other side of Murthy, how you looked at this, and you have enormous femto expertise within Abbott, how you were seeing the market, and then what made you get excited about OptiMedica.
Well, we obviously have a lot of femto expertise at Abbott Medical Optics, but when you saw the evolution of femtosecond laser technology in the cataract arena, it was starting to heat up. And you could see the large accounts start to adopt it, and time to market was critical. But not just time to market with any system, we wanted a highly differentiated system. And as we looked at the landscape, we really liked what OptiMedica did. We liked their thought process, and we liked the team. So it wasn't just the technology. The question really with any such acquisition is what value are you going to add? What value is the company you're acquiring going to add to you? And clearly what we could do was bring global scale, commercialize it, and you know, use the synergies with the rest of our portfolio. But what they're bringing to the table is not just the catalyst system, they're bringing a mindset and a thought process. For any large company, I think there's a risk if over time you don't refresh your thinking. And one of the ways to do that is through acquisitions. And done right, not only does it change the company getting acquired, a part of you changes based on what you learn from the company that we're acquiring. So in their case, you know, we like the general methodology. The liquid optics interface story is a great one in terms of how to develop the right technology, keeping the patient first. We like that. And you know, by the time we did the acquisition, our views were fairly clear on how we wanted to participate in cataract. We didn't want to just participate. We wanted to be a part of shaping the field and how it was evolving. And we felt we had a great you know, partnership with the scientific talent and the other leadership at OptiMedica.
Great. Can you talk a little about the process of how long it took? Was there an initial discussions? Did it move fast towards the end? Or just a sense of the cadence? Because I think for any management team out there, that's always one of the questions, is what what is the time frame of a nice acquisition?
Well, you know, the first step is making up your mind as to whether or not you want to participate in that field. In this case, laser cataract surgery. And you know, we went back and forth about how this field was going to evolve. It took us a bit of time to formulate our thinking as to how the field would evolve. And there were ongoing discussions with these companies for, I would say, about a year, maybe over a year prior to the acquisition. And things came to a head last year as you know, we did a deep dive, a strategic review of our cataract strategy, and we decided that laser cataract surgery was going to be a part of our strategy. And once we made that decision, it was a question of how do you enter the market as quickly as possible, like I said before. So it is a bit of a coincidence. You know, there were multiple options. We were evaluating the options, and I got a call one day from the CFO of OptiMedica, who happened to be a colleague of mine at Guidant. He was the CFO for our division at Guidant, and you know, he gave me some insights, and that kind of got the thought process started, and very soon after that, we began engaging with OptiMedica, doing the due diligence and such. So I'd say the clock moved pretty fast from there. I'd say within 3 months, we'd done all of the work necessary, and then there was obviously the FTC clearance after that.
Terrific, terrific. Well, it really seems like a great marriage. Can you guys just comment in the few minutes that we have left? Where do you think this is going? Where is it femto cataract alone? Is there more? Or where do you see this product line going? Do you have any closing thoughts on that?
Well, I'll speak first, and then of course Murthy. But you know, I think that we believed every step of the way that this is really compelling technology, and if there's anything I've learned in my now 30+ years of being in medical device, it's that, you know, you create things, and you create them probably with something very specific in mind, but then the evolution of technology and how you see it used, and what you put a great device in the hands of really talented, forward-thinking physicians. There's no telling how far you can take it. So I think there's a very robust future ahead, and I think that the innovation in this category, this is, you know, we built a platform for the future, and I think you take that and what it can do synergistically with other parts of the procedure and other products. I think that you're going to have lots of panel discussion material for decades ahead, and this will be right in the middle of it.
So we saw this as a natural evolution of how cataract surgery is done. The push continually is towards less refractive miss, increased precision, and you might look at the first generation systems and say they're only for high volume accounts. But you know, if you look at the first phaco systems, there were lots of skeptics then as well, and the transition didn't happen immediately. Now with 3 large companies driving it, you will see, because of competitive pressures, a pretty rapid evolution of laser cataract surgery. And I think it will become a mainstay of cataract surgery. How quickly, you know, remains to be seen, but it's certainly aligned with all of the trends of precision and better outcomes.
That's great. Well, this really is one of the best examples of a successful completion of the innovation cycle. And we thank you, Murthy, for joining in. We surprised Mark with a little cameo guest appearance here. But please join me again in congratulating Mark for a terrific award. And thank you.
Can I?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. One more thing from Mark.
If I can just make one last comment here, because so I'm feel very honored to accept this. However, as I think back about the 6 years at OptiMedica, it really is not just a company that people went to work in every day. It's a spirit. It's a spirit of passionate people driven to deliver really breakthrough technologies, and those people came into work every day to deliver their best, and they did it over and over. And this award really is their award. It's the entire team. It's the founders. It's the board members, the investors, it's the hundreds of employees that participate in this, the cast of physicians that work with us, the distribution partners, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say, my wife, who's like my in-house McKinsey consultant. Those of you that know her, she's sort of my secret weapon, and then both my kids for appreciating when I was there and understanding when I wasn't. That's all those people really are the ones that this award is for.
Thank you. Great. Thanks again.